viewers, welcome back to Daily Retro. Today we have episode 10 of Guides Games Rooms. Can't quite believe we're at episode number 10, but yeah, we've got James from Retro Import Gamer today. Say hello, James.
Hi everyone.
Yeah, good
nice
to have
to
you on.
Here.
Good to have you on. You've watched lots of these episodes before, haven't you?
Yes, I have. Quite a few. Most, I think, actually.
Awesome. So you have a vague idea what's coming. So yeah, we'll jump straight into the first question for yourself.
Rightio.
So when did your games room first appear?
Probably, I mean, in a small way, sort of 20 odd years ago at my parents' house. I had a sort of section in my bedroom, but when I first got my own house to start with, that was when it first started, but it was just a little box room. It was probably only 6 foot square, maybe. It was a really small room. And I tended to I had my games on display then, more so than what I've got now. And it was nice, and it was nice to be able to walk into the room and sort of pick a game off the shelf. But then I felt quite limited by the fact that, because I've got a few systems, I felt that if I could get a bigger room, I'd like and prefer to have the systems sort of ready to play rather than having the games on display. So, it used to infuriate me having to set up a particular system to be able to play on it. So it was if I had the opportunity in the future, it was paramount that I'd got all my systems set up, ready to use without any messing about. So that's kind of where the inspiration for this room came from when I moved here. My sort of first goal was I've got to get all my systems sort of along the wall, ready to play. I don't mind if my games aren't on display. I can find the game I want, but at least I haven't got to set, systems up, find wires, get everything connected to the TV. It's all ready to go. And so that's really what inspired this room. And it's kind of evolved over the years, into having a section for some games on display, but it's always sort of come back to the fact I wanted my machines ready to go, and it's the greatest part of the room now is still that, really.
Yeah, I'm very much the same. I'd like to have the consoles ready to go rather than games on display sort of taking over, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, in an ideal world I'd have both, but unfortunately haven't got the space.
Yeah, no, it's nice to see different size rooms as well, and what people make the space usable from.
Oh, absolutely.
Cool. So when you moved into your current games room, how long did it take to build, or was it a slow evolution?
It has been slow evolution, really. I mean, when we moved here, it was just a blank loft space. It wasn't even boarded out or anything. It was just a regular loft you'd find anywhere. And I sort of, when we were looking for the house, I was looking for a loft that I could turn into initially it was going to be an office, really, but it kind of evolved into a game room sort of after that, really. So I was looking for a loft that was big enough to turn into a room. And, this one fitted the bill. So then I set about, we went through the house top to bottom, before we moved in, but I started in the loft and worked down. So, I got the games room done first before all the bedrooms and, the living room, get the priorities right.
Yeah.
Game room sorted. And then it kind of evolved from there, really. Once the room was set up, it was set up as an office to start with, and sort of combined with one wall, which I'd got my game console set up, which was my plan in the first place. But then over time, you just, I'll pinch a bit of space here and I'll pinch a bit of space there. And eventually, you've taken over the whole room. There's just a tiny corner now left for the office, which is where I'm sitting in front of the computer. And the rest's all just dedicated to games, really. And it's kind of, I think it's probably got worse since I've been on YouTube, to be honest with you. You see other people's rooms and you think, oh yeah, I quite fancy doing that, and
Yeah, pinch
it'll be out
ideas.
today. That's right, you do pinch ideas, yeah.
So what year was that? Started building it.
Been here since 2015, so it's about 7 years now.
Oh, cool.
When it's probably took. Well, I mean, I'd done this room first, like I said, but it's been evolving ever since then, really, to be honest. There's always something you tinker with and you think, oh, I'll just change that and I'll change this. And
yeah, for sure.
It kind of becomes a hobby, doesn't it? It's like room Tetris, you just move stuff around. And
yeah, you're always looking for ways to make it better.
Absolutely, yeah.
Cool. So question number 3 is, where did the inspiration for your room come from? Did it come from friends in real life or other YouTubers, or?
I don't think I really had that much inspiration, really, because at that point when I was building the room, I'd never even watched anything on YouTube. So it certainly wasn't inspired by anyone else's room because I hadn't seen any. It was just inspired from the fact I wanted my consoles on show, or not so much on show, but ready to use. And it kind of evolved from there, really. And it kind of stayed that way for, 2 or 3 years, really, where it was just the one wall that was consoles and the rest was more office and a normal room. But then 2 or 3 years ago, when I first started watching, all the gaming channels on YouTube, that kind of made me then evolve the room more and go down more of a games route. But I don't think I necessarily copied any particular style or anything. It was just working with the space I'd got in the room, because I am quite limited with the shape of the room. So it was just maximising, the room to its full potential, really.
Yeah, definitely maximise the potential now from what I can see as well.
Yeah, I've kind of tried to use every bit of space I can, really. And, it is what it is, really. I can't really go any bigger or,
Yeah. It's nice to see that inspiration doesn't always come from like places like YouTube. It's just sometimes there is just a want and you want to just do it yourself and see what happens, sort of thing.
That's kind of what it is, really.
Awesome. Okay, so question number 4. I'm really intrigued as this one. What's your favourite item or feature of your room?
That's quite a tough one, really.
Or it could be both.
I do still love, even after all these years, I do still love having all the consoles set up ready to play. I wouldn't want to change that. I think that's certainly something I'm happy with, and I wouldn't look at changing in any way. I do also like my arcade stick collection, which I set up down the one wall there. I do like using arcade sticks, but I just think sort of aesthetically they look quite nice when you're looking at them all in a long line. So I do like that display.
Which is your favourite arcade stick then?
I think I'd have to say the Neo Geo one, simply because it's the first one I ever used back, way back in the early 90s, that, when I had my first Neo Geo. That's the first experience I'd ever had of an arcade stick. And that's kind of stuck with me all these years. And I still think it's an amazing stick to play today.
Yeah, for sure. It's a really high-end product as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's still a great machine. It's just unfortunate that's how much money.
Cool. All right. So question number 5 might lead on for that. What's the most expensive item in your games room?
Now, this is a tricky one, really. I've never really bought anything that's been expensive. It's just the fact I've had stuff, loads of years, and it's become expensive now.
Yeah, just appreciated.
Yeah, exactly. I've never really set out to buy anything that was expensive. The only thing I've done that with is when I bought my full Wii U set, having to buy, the last half dozen games, which were all stupidly expensive. You know, that's the only instance I've ever done that. But I think in terms of what I've got now that sort of has appreciated, I think there's a few things around the similar money, I would say, like the Vectrex and the CD32. You know, they're both expensive. The Neo Geo CDZ console, again, is quite expensive to buy these days. And I must admit, I was quite surprised a few weeks ago. I was watching some of the video, I forget what now, but Samba de Amigo on the Dreamcast, the full big box version with the maracas, that's stupidly expensive now, 300 or 400 quid, and I didn't realise. You know, I've had it since brand new, wherever it was, 60 quid. But so it's things like that, you know, where they've appreciated in value, really, is where my value is.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, it's nice when stuff just appreciates and you're not actually forking out megabucks for stuff you actually want. That's
right. Yeah, I mean, if we'd all got a time machine, we'd all go back 20 years, wouldn't we, and snap all this stuff up?
Yeah, just buy everything Pokemon cheap.
Absolutely. I'd fill a warehouse with it. Make a fortune.
Yeah. Cool. Right. Question number 6. So what do you play most in your games room?
I think at the moment, it's most definitely the Saturn. I mean, I've always been a fan of the Saturn right back from when it came. You know, I've still got the original console I had back in the 90s. Because you know, I'm a Sega boy through and through. I always will be. And so I've always loved the Saturn, but recently I've kind of reignited the passion for it, if you like, and I've been buying games for it, and not just games I've had in the past, but also new games that I've never experienced before. And it's made me realise what an amazing console it is, and still is to this day, in my opinion. Unfortunately, it's one of the most expensive consoles you can collect for if you're talking about the exclusive Japanese games. Hence why I've had to go repro on some of them. But I mean, I love arcade games. So that period on the Saturn and the Dreamcast, I think that's the greatest period for me, and it'll never be beaten. So I would say Saturn, really.
Awesome.
Combined with some Dreamcast.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of like really good arcade ports. I think you were the one who told me ages ago, if you're going to get one game for the Saturn, get the Sega Rally port.
Oh, yeah, amazing. Yeah, I mean, it obviously doesn't look as good as the arcade, but it plays just amazingly well.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you've got a Saturn, even if you don't like racing games necessarily, you know, you've got to buy it because it's cheap as well.
Yeah, and I think I'm right in saying you can buy. I think they're fairly expensive, but you can get the optical disk drive emulators for Saturn as well.
Yes, yeah, a few people have mentioned that to me actually since I've bought a few repros. I'm not ruling it out. It does interest me, so I may go down that route at some point.
Yeah,
I do think it's a good idea, especially the prices of some games. You know.
Yeah.
There are multiple games which are, you know, £200-300, you know, so you can't possibly buy them originally.
Yeah. And I think it is sort of a drop-in mod. It's not like you have to solder anything or anything. I think I'm right in saying that anyway.
Yeah, I know the Dreamcast one's like that, isn't it? I think.
Yeah.
Which again, that does interest me as well.
Awesome. Okay, so question number 7: are there any challenges or problems when you initially built the room, or still unsolved?
My challenge really was the shape of it and the fact that there aren't really any walls, because it's quite I mean, it's not as low as some lofts, but you can only stand up head height in the middle. So at the sides, you've only sort of got waist height walls. So that really limits what you can do in the room. So, you know, you can't buy shelving really. So everything I've got, I've made myself to fit the room. So that was my limitation and my biggest challenge really. And I've just, as the years have gone on, I've just sort of thought of ways of maximizing the space I've got. Like the area where you can see my arcade sticks, that used to be just, that's like the beams of the house, and there was nothing there. But I suddenly thought, well, that's kind of wasted space. There must be some way I can use that to display stuff. So I just manipulated a shelf and then turned the whole sort of beam of the house into a shelf, which is what they all sit on now. And it's just learning to do that, really. Make the most of your room, really, and the shape you've got, and maximise the space, because you can never have enough, can you?
Yeah, you make a good point. You can't sort of make use of all the space on the roof for the shelving, but yeah, there's certainly ways around it, like the one you've mentioned. I think it is a nice aesthetic to have a shelf sort of just above the backboard of a sofa, like you've done.
Yeah, that was yeah, it's worked out quite well, really, I think.
Yeah. Well, cool. So, penultimate question for yourself before I get into my favorite bit of your room. So, are there any upcoming changes to your room? Obviously, you might not know, but yeah, it's worth the question.
There are no major changes. I mean, I recently did one a few months ago down the other end of the room. I turned that into more of a display kind of wall, where I used to have a big TV on that wall. So that enabled me to display a few things which I've never been able to do before. But aside from that, this room, I mean, there probably will be things I'll do, but there's nothing sort of in my mind that's planned to do. But I do have plans for the garage. At the minute, it's full of rubbish, or a bit less rubbish than they used to be, because I'm in the process of clearing it out. And I want to use that room, or part of that room. I'd like some kind of arcade cabinet in there, and which I mentioned to you last week, I think it was, I'd like a driving rig. So that going forward, my plans are to sort of pinch some garage space to enable me to have bigger things which I can't physically get in here, really.
Yeah, that's a nice idea.
That's kind of a mid-term project.
Yeah, you got to sort of bribe the wife as well into expanding further on one room.
But it's not so much that, really, because it's full of my rubbish anyway. So I just need to clear my rubbish that I don't want to buy more rubbish that I do want.
Yeah, I've already been told off to iron up my son's bedroom because it's absolutely massive. So,
oh, really? Oh, that sounds nice. So, make a nice games room, Dale.
Yeah, well, either get him into games or get him to move out as soon as he's 18.
That's right. That sounds like a plan.
All right, so final question for yourself, mate. Are there any tips you'd give people who are thinking of building their own first games room?
I think really just obviously maximise the space you've got, because you can never have enough, especially the older you get and the more you collect. But I think really concentrate on stuff that interests you. You see a lot of people, they'll buy stuff just to fill shelves, won't they? And I mean, I've never gone down that route. I've always only bought what I want to play or have played before and enjoyed. So that would be my sort of tip. Don't buy fodder, really. Shelf fillers. Just buy what interests you, even if it takes you a bit longer. Your room will then be full of, cool stuff you actually want to use, rather than some rubbish you might end up wanting to sell in a few months or years.
Yeah, that's a good tip. I actually, you might have seen on my Instagram recently, I went down to a game shop in Cardiff. It's called Super Tomato. Craig Goodwin recommended it. Oh yeah. But yeah, that shop has. I thought this is going to be perfect for James. The owner, he goes to, before COVID, obviously, he was going off to Japan very often, and he brings back huge suitcases of imported stuff for his shop.
It sounds amazing.
So I'd highly recommend a visit there, but it might be expensive.
I do fancy that shop, actually, to be honest.
Yeah, it's the most amount of import I've seen.
Oh, really?
In a UK shop.
Oh, wow. I need to go there then. That's a date for the diary. Thank you, Dale.
Yeah, day trip to Cardiff.
Absolutely.
Cool. So I'll just get into my favourite bit of your room, and then we'll sort of close things off.
Okie dokie.
So from the pictures you sent me, I'm sort of tied between what you've already said, which is the row of arcade sticks, and
Yeah.
also the night lighting. I think I've got very similar, so I may be a bit biased, but yeah, having the nice LED lighting all around the room, especially when you've got that white roofing, like reflects the
Yeah.
light really nicely.
Yeah, I do like that myself, actually. It's what I'm.
Yeah.
Well, that's what's on now. Actually, only I've just turned it to white lighting instead of the
Yeah.
neon.
Yeah, it looks really cool at night, and yeah, really nice aesthetic. So that that was definitely my favorite bit of the room. And obviously you've got a few signs there as well. I don't know what sign you've got in the distance, but it's got the clock and then flashing different logos.
Oh yeah, that's just one of those pixel frame things. I'm not that keen on it actually, but it's quite nice. But I'd like a better one.
Yeah.
The pixels on mine are too big. You need one with smaller pixels to show better pictures.
Okay. Yeah. But
But
it
you can get them that more money.
It definitely adds to the sort of arcade aesthetic.
Oh, definitely. That LED lighting was definitely inspired by other YouTube channels. You know, you see that on some rooms, and I thought that looks nice. I need to get some of that.
Yeah, it just helps highlight everything.
Oh, definitely. And then when you turn it pink or blue or whatever, it's like the arcade, like you say.
Yeah, I absolutely love light blue myself, but obviously you've got a favourite colour judging by your hat.
Yeah, I do quite like pink. Yeah, yeah, but I do like light blue as well. So you know, I use both on my logo. So you know, I like both equally.
Awesome. All right, thanks for answering all those questions, mate. It's been
No problem, Dale.
pleasure having you on the show.
Yeah, it was good fun. Thanks for asking.
So if you've enjoyed this episode, guys, give us a comment and a like down below, and don't forget to subscribe if you've not already. And we'll hopefully see you very soon for episode 11. Cheers.